So Mike, is that like,
Just walk by.
That's Mary. Mary Snake. Dr. Snake.
Hello.
Good here?
Good. Have you seen the other ugly face here yet?
I'm here. Good afternoon.
No.
Yeah.
No, you're too handsome for that.
Oh,
Hi,
Bill.
Bill. Bill, it's so exciting, isn't it? Can't stand it. I didn't bring my
Oh, but hold this.
So we're just waiting for the mayor.
No.
Sounds like Scott Ching's the acting mayor of Brampton today.
Well, he wouldn't mind.
Do we need to let them?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
If you want to sit, there, you can sit in the audience.
Just walking.
There's chairs in there.
Yeah, should have one clock.
Yeah.
If you feel like you need to, you can just.
Sorry?
Being that when you're ready, there's chairs.
Growling and mumbling something.
So be it.
Done a good job, real good job.
That man is the most angry man I've ever seen.
See how well we keep it.
I think it better.
All of us talked about. Every one of us received their.
Or should I hand you my check?
Yeah, match this one.
But I can't.
No, that's not. You're so embarrassing now, but it only. Just rolls off the tongue.
It doesn't it? Just so well.
So after we cut the ribbon, we're going to do the laying out ceremony. We'll all need to move into the education room, stand and watch it on the video, because we need all this for the regiment colors. Just so you know, so as soon as we finish the ribbon, we'll all go upstairs and get it right. There's no more chairs or anything.
Are we close enough Green Street for a little bit? What do they call that? Hot mic?
Yes. Careful what you say.
I know. As long as
Don't
it's recorded.
It was on. And there.
Luckily, we're not
Maybe you
politicians.
can have all in the background, all the horns. That's the recording mic.
Is that on?
It's just upstairs. Right. It's just being recorded for posterity. So you're off the hook.
We're putting in a time capsule someplace?
Yeah. It's in the cloud now.
All right, everybody ready? MC? MC, you ready? Mayor's coming up.
All right, Sam.
How are you doing?
Whenever you're ready, bring it up.
Good afternoon, and welcome
to all the elected officials that are here, to members of the Regimental Senate, to members of the Lorne Scots, Peel, Dufferin, and Halton Regiment, to our extended regimental family, members of the Regimental Association, and ladies and gentlemen, I am thrilled to have the opportunity to MC this event today. But before we get started, let's acknowledge the land on which we gather, and which the region of Peel operates is part of the treaty lands and territory of the Mississaugas of the Credit. For thousands of years, the Mississauga peoples inhabited and cared for this land and continue to do so today. Later, the Mississauga, or the Mississauga people, through diplomatic pacts, allowed for the Huron-Wendat to live on this territory around what is now referred to as Lake Ontario. For a time, these lands were also inhabited by the Haudenosaunee. This land we are on today is covered by Treaty 19. We recognize that treaty promises were not properly fulfilled to the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation, and that by acknowledging this, it is in the true spirit and intent of reconciliation and a way to build better relationships in the future. We are grateful to have the opportunity to work and live on this land, and by doing so, give our gratitude, respect to the original peoples. Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us today to celebrate the opening of the Lorne Scots Regimental Museum. My name is Craig Heyman, and until recently I was the honorary colonel. My appointment ended this spring, where I have been involved for the last 7 years and deeply involved in the start of this project. So it's really near and dear to my heart, and that's why I'm so excited to be here with you. So it's important to pull back and say this all started with Colonel Ted Conover, who served in the Second World War in the Devil's Brigade, later became the commanding officer of the regiment from 60 to 63, and later became the honorary colonel of the regiment. In 1981, he started the Regimental Trust and funded the first deposit. In 1980, he actually acquired the building, I think it's 47 John Street, just around behind us, attached to the armory, where the first museum was started. And it was a labor of love from the beginning. The regiment, the regimental family, the Senate put deep time into curating, finding, and cataloging all of the displays and information. The problem was the building was not in good repair and wasn't often open to the public. So what we find ourselves with today is a situation that former honorary colonel Bill Adcock and I met with Ted Conover in 2019, shortly before his passing. And in that very short meeting, Ted reached up and grabbed Bill's hands and said, "Just one thing I'd like to add, Bill." He said, "I want you to build a museum, and I want you to do it right." So the museum project began in earnest, and the Regimental Senate and the Regimental Trust said this was a project that needed to be built. Shortly after Bill Adcock, who I'll announce more fully later, left the position of honorary colonel, he immediately took up the role of chair of the board of the museum to get this built and created. That has been a long-term project for this regiment, and I would argue probably the biggest project, capital funding project that we've ever undertaken. And it was done with the help of many, many partners and people. And first and foremost, I need to stop and say, we're in this fabulous building, the Carnegie Library, due to the gracious effort, donation, time, thought of Mayor Patrick Brown and council and your staff, who work tirelessly and have been fabulous to work with. Heard earlier today that the more work we put into this building, the more work the city put into this building to make it really a display that would stand the test of time and respect the regiment. Second, the Trillium Foundation, we had a little celebration a little earlier today. Ontario Trillium Foundation also made it possible for us to do this by contributing a very large sum of money to build all of the display cabinets in the museum. Finally, there are contributions from members of the Senate, Regimental Association, the regiment, and the broader community. And as you come into the museum, you'll see the recognition wall behind me. At that point, I should stop and say, if you're interested in supporting the ongoing operations of a first-class military museum for the Lorne Scots, I or any of the members in green or museum jackets would be happy to assist you. Additionally, the work to get this museum up and running was done by volunteers. And it was led by Bill Adcock and Gary Love, our current honorary colonel. But there were some, in addition to the Regimental Association and Senate and some of the regimental members, Scott Ching, Stu Sheriff, Jerry DeRoche, and many more stepped up to make this possible. So thank you for that. From the start, this project was focused on ensuring the museum was not just a place to display history, rather, the objectives are to engage with Brampton and the communities we serve, providing a first-class museum that explains the past and how the armed forces are addressing today's challenges, that engages with schools to provide learning experiences and context for students, by engaging with local businesses to provide a nice meeting space that is efficient with modern amenities while providing exposures to the Lorne Scots displays and exhibits. The concept of the museum has evolved beautifully, and I recognized all the folks that have contributed to it. I look forward to this museum welcoming students, welcoming businesses, and welcoming lots of people from the public to enjoy and learn more about the Lorne Scots. At this point, I'd like to introduce Lorne Scots Commanding Officer, Lieutenant Colonel Adam McGuinness. Lieutenant Colonel McGuinness started his military career in 2003 with the Argyll and Southern Highlanders. He deployed twice to Afghanistan, and in 2010 and 11, and then in 2019, he deployed to command 31 Domestic Response Unit. We all remember the floods in Ottawa. He led one of the teams to manage and improve the situation there. In 2020, he came to the Lorne Scots as the Deputy Commanding Officer, and in 2023, he was appointed the Commanding Officer. In addition to being a dedicated military professional, Adam has a full-time job as the Director of Bay Area Logistics Corp, and he handles the logistics. I think Adam's military training has helped hone his ability to lead and execute at work. I know that his civilian training and work has enabled him to better lead the Lorne Scots. In addition, he's also a full-time parent with his wife Britt for their two wonderful children. We're lucky to have him in the regiment and to speak to us today. Adam, over to you.
Thanks, Craig. Bill and I flipped a coin on who gives long speech, who gives short speech. Bill won. He's giving the long speech. It's an absolute honor to be here on this momentous day on behalf of the regiment. There's a lot of other regiments and units out there that can only dream of having this building and this type of museum behind us. But here at the Lorne Scots, we don't dream, we make dreams reality. This building couldn't have happened without all the hard work of the extended regimental family, specifically the museum board. I'd like to thank the City of Brampton, Mayor Brown, our local MPs, Bill Adcock, Gary Love, Stu Sheriff, Craig Heyman, Gary Reamy, Jerry DeRoche. Thank you for all your hard work, and I can't forget Scott Ching. So, thank you to all the soldiers that served before us, that were able to sit there and do all the hard work and serve our country and regiment proud, to have the stories up here in this museum to tell for future generations. Thank you to the current serving and to the future serving regiment that will continue to add their stories to this museum. On behalf of the regiment, thank you, museum, and thank you, City of Brampton.
Thank you, Adam, for your leadership and contribution to getting this museum launched. Next, I'd like to introduce to you a dear friend of mine, William Adcock, or more correctly, Honorary Retired Colonel William Adcock, Order of Military Medal Honor Receiver and Canadian Forces Decoration recipient. Bill has a very long, and I hope that you don't mind, Bill, that I'm saying it's that long, but a very long and storied military career, beginning when he joined the cadets in 1962 and then became a private in the Lorne Scots in 1964. He deployed multiple times, including a United Nations peacekeeping mission to Sierra Leone. Bill also has a very unique experience of having been the regimental sergeant major for the Lorne Scots and later appointed the commanding officer of the Lorne Scots between 2000 and 2003. Bill then served as an honorary colonel between 2014 and 2021. After retiring from this appointment, as I mentioned earlier, he took the work in earnest to become the chair of the museum board and begin the work of getting the museum built. I mentioned Ted Conover's conversation earlier, and what I would say to you, Bill, is you've taken that charge to heart. The floor is yours.
Just give me a minute, I'll get this very long speech that the CO referenced to and get ready to go here. Colonel McGinnis, Honorary Colonel Love, Mayor Brown. I would like to extend a very warm welcome to members of City Council, members of Parliament, members of the provincial government, distinguished guests, the Regimental Senate, and especially the regimental family. Before I introduce the present board of directors, and I have a lot more to say about them than Craig did, I would like to acknowledge those who created the Regimental Museum and operated in a very small space for over 40 years. Colonel Ted Conover, a true visionary. Colonel Frank Ching, Major Al Goodman, Major Tom Graham, Major Rick Ruggell, our historian, and many civilian volunteers like Jim Parker. Without them, there would be no museum here today. Standing with me today are the members of the Museum Board of Directors, who for the last 3 years have overcome many challenges and obstacles in creating an exceptional exhibit, which you will see here today. As the chair of the Museum Board of Directors, I would like to congratulate the board and the museum curator on your outstanding achievement in creating a new regimental museum for the regiment and the communities in Peel, Dufferin, and Halton counties. Honorary Craig Heyman, who challenged us to think big. Henry Verschuren, founding member who wrote the presentation to City Council for the Carnegie Library to be turned into a museum. Vice Chair Mr. Scott Ching, our project manager, whose creativity and tenacity moved this project to where it is today. Without him, we would be nothing, quite frankly. Honorary Colonel Love, our fundraising coordinator, and much, much more. He is the architect of the Trillium Grant Award. Our curator, Stu Sheriff, content creator, and researcher extraordinaire. Major Rick Ruggell, whose book on the regiment is the basis for much of the many stories told in our exhibits. Secretary David Fimio, he is a brilliant graphic designer who helped us through many problems. Ken White, our treasurer, who kept us on track financially and unraveled the mystical world of D&D finance. Paul Federico, who began our lecture series for our educational program. Ryan Goldsworthy from Royal Canadian Military Institute. He was the curator. He's moved on to the City of Toronto and is an expert on museum presentations. Air Commoner Sir Jeet Bhatti, who brings knowledge of the South Asian community's contribution to conflicts across the world. Paula Phillips, who brings new energy to the board. Darren Kolasar, our media guru, who kept us in the public eye. Jerry Duroshi, who quietly gathered masses of pictures and documented our artifacts so we could put all these pieces together. Although they are not on the board, the Kelly family were there for construction work, painting, hanging, storyboards, everything we asked them to do. And finally, thank you to the Utako family and their companies, Cabinets to Kitchens and Multi-Family Renovations, who built our cabinets. This has been a long and sometimes difficult journey for all concerned. With no available funding at the beginning of the project, to hire a design team or to build the displays has been a real challenge, but most importantly, a demonstration that with the hard work of all who were engaged in this project and some very generous donations, anything is possible. Over the past 3 years, the board of directors and the curator have managed to raise the funds to hire a design team and build the infrastructure to support the actual artifacts and displays, which you'll see here today. This has brought the museum from a dream to a reality. Having observed the challenges of creating a new museum for the Royal Regiment of Fusiliers, our allied regiment, and their predecessors, the regiment, the Lancashire Fusiliers in the city of Bury, UK, I'm amazed that this project was completed in such a short period of time, despite COVID. I would like to thank Colonel Brian Gorski and the Board of Directors of the Fusilier Museum Lancashire for their advice and support. Throughout this process, and I'm going to reiterate this again, the City of Brampton, led by Mayor Patrick Brown and his councillors, were completely supportive of the project, who from the beginning recognized the value of having a world-class museum which will celebrate the contribution of the soldiers of the regiment in international peace support operations and domestic operations throughout Canada. As a result, the city leased the original Carnegie Library to us, and we have transformed it into a world-class museum. Without this generous gift, Your Worship, there would be no museum. I should now note that the city staff, and this has been mentioned also, spent many hours preparing the building for the construction of the museum. We thank you for all of your efforts. Not only will the museum be a perpetual reminder of the contribution of the regiment in times of war and peace, it will also serve as an educational center for students to learn about the history of the regiment and the three counties from which the regiment drew its recruits. I must add that the museum also will be a resource center for the community. It is important to recognize that without the generous contributions of the regimental family, especially the members of the Senate, we would not be here today. We are especially grateful to our former Honorary Colonel Gary Reamy and Joanne Reamy for their significant financial contribution to the museum. The main gallery is dedicated to the Reamy family. Once again, I would like to congratulate all those who worked so hard on this truly significant achievement. Every museum tells a story and provides a link between the past, the present, and the future. Museums provide a learning environment for everyone. Today, as you tour the museum, please think about the artifacts and the images and what they tell us about our story, the heroism, the comradeship, and the suffering. The faces of the young men and women that look down at us from the past have the same values and ethics that drive young men and women today. The museum tells the story of patriotism and much more, from Queenston Heights through 2 world wars, NATO, the Balkans, Namibia, Cambodia, Africa, Afghanistan, Iraq, Jordan, and beyond. The regiment has served this country. We must learn from our past and shape our future. Enjoy your visit today, which I'm sure will take you down memory lane. There's Son Air Duchess.
Bill, thank you for your comments and for your tireless, boundless energy to get this museum launched. Next, I'd like to introduce Mayor Patrick Brown. Lots has been said already, and lots have been said over the years, but I've got a few things that I thought I'd add. I think we all know that Mayor Brown has focused his entire life on public service. He was first elected in year 2000 as a councillor, city councillor in Barrie. He was then elected to the Ontario legislature in 2006, followed by 2 very successful re-election campaigns in 2008, 2011, and then Mayor Brown was elected the leader of the Ontario Conservative Party. In 2018, he was elected the mayor of Brampton. His focus has been very clear: clean up, manage finances, reduce drama. After 4 years with no tax increases and a lot less news stories, I think the job's been pretty well done. What you may not know about Mayor Brown is that he is a big supporter of the military and an even bigger supporter of the Lorne Scots. With Mayor Brown's direction, his team, as we've talked about, has been super to work with. We could not have gotten this museum done without the partnership of the mayor and his team. I'd like to thank you for your support, and I'd like to ask you to share your comments with the group.
Well, what a special day in the city of Brampton. I just want to acknowledge, first of all, that I'm joined here today by Councillors Rowena Santos and Rod Power, and wonderful to see MP Sonia Sadu and MPP Graham McGregor here as well. I know they're big supporters of the Lorne Scots as well. Great to see this day come into fruition, and to Bill, to Craig, to Henry, to everyone that worked on this. Thank you for being determined to make this a reality. I remember it was 4 or 5 years ago when I was asked by Henry to come tour the old museum, and it was so crammed, so jammed, but there was so much history there. And I know everyone knows Henry here, but he can be very determined. He doesn't really ask a question. He sort of tells you what needs to happen. The Lorne Scots have such an incredible history in our community. And I think we need to be more proud of our history. There's one thing that I think we could do more of in Canada is be proud of our history. Canadians tend to be really polite and not bang our chests as much as others, but there's so much history here. And we really want to make sure the next generation in our city and our country gets to learn that important history. You know, my grandparents were from St. Boniface, Manitoba, and it was during the Second World War that they went out to the base Borden to get trained and ended up staying in that area. My great uncle ended up running the Legion, up in Barrie for decades. And so I remember as a kid going to the Legion with my grandfather and always being told about that history. But what do we do today to educate the next generation? And as we become more removed from some of the great military contributions of our country, what are we doing to make sure they're just as relevant today in terms of the sacrifice that was born? And I think having a museum that talks about some of our history is so important. It's why when this was presented, I was elated to support the initiative. And just to share a little bit of I've asked for a backgrounder on this building to share with you some of the history. The Carnegie Library at 55 Queen Street East was built in 1906, following a $12,000 donation from the American steel magnate Andrew Carnegie. Imagine being able to buy a building for $12,000 today. Prices have increased. And I would note it was, Steve Coley, the president of the Brampton Historical Society, who said at the time, the fact the new museum is being put into Brampton's Carnegie Library shows the dedication to historic buildings. I couldn't think of a more appropriate purpose, given the history of this building. The museum has been housed for more than 4 decades in a tiny building that is not reflective of the pride and importance and the history of the Lorne Scots. I believe this building would be fitting of the city's pride in the Lorne Scots. I understand this is up to 3,000 square feet, so we're going to be less crammed. And we hope that this will be able to share storyboards, artifacts, uniforms, equipment. This can be an educational center. This is an opportunity to educate our city and the next generation. And I can't wait to take my son and my daughter through here at some point, and I know every parent's going to feel the same way. This is a gift to the downtown in our city. This is a gift to Brampton. This is a gift to our history, and I know this has been dependent on so many volunteers to make this happen. And so on behalf of the city, I want to say thank you for honoring this rich history, and we can't wait to share this story with the rest of the city. And I think that starts today with the ribbon cutting, but I know this is going to be a special part of our fabric in Brampton. And to everyone that made it possible, thank you, thank you, thank you. And I'd be remiss not to mention, I believe there was a Trillium grant that was recognized earlier today. So good job, MPP McGregor, for the Ontario Trillium Foundation, and of course MP Sonia Sadu for the ongoing support of the Government of Canada, which supports the Canadian Forces. So thank you so much for being here. An honor to be here, and look forward to cutting the ribbon with you.
Thank you, Mayor Brown, for your kind words, and more importantly, for your leadership. Now what I'd like to do is have Lieutenant Colonel Adam McGuinness, Honorary Colonel retired Adcock, who is the chair of the museum board, and Mayor Brown conduct the ribbon cutting.
Go in the back of the stairs, okay? Get up on the stairs, you're down here. Paul, you're down here. Grant, Sonia, please, you're up here on the stairs. Up the stairs, so you can see. Yes, absolutely. So this one. David, you're not in the picture. So Ryan, turn sideways, close here, David in there, right? You're good. Everybody's in. Everybody in the picture now? If you can't see the camera, they cannot see you. You're Brown when you're ready. That's 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Make your way upstairs and into the right, please.
Good, how are you?
Well done.
How are you? Sit there very well.
Hey, how you doing? Great,
Great job. You're a perfect MC.
Stand up.
Look over, say hello, later on.
Okay, we have to see it.
Yeah, we did it. So, wow. When do I give the preamble about the colors and announce to people what's going on? Are they queued up?
Okay, guys.
I need this.
Scott, when do you want to
Roll this over here.
to tell
Right there,
people
right there.
what's
So
going
are you
on?
putting the packet for this part? If you go into
He's
that
in
one.
there. Everybody's in there.
When do you want me speaking to tell people
Here.
what's happening? Right here? Okay. And when do you want me to start?
When you're doing your spurts, you do your spurts now. Yes. Go ahead.
So exciting that we've gotten to this point. The museum is open. The first official function of this museum is a very special event that we all get to observe. We're going to conduct the sacred military protocol of laying up the Lorne Scots, Peel, Dufferin, and Halton Regiments' former colors. For context, the use of flags to denote the location of a commander in battle dates back to the Middle Ages. As time marched on, their use became more evolved and formalized, so that by the mid-18th century, regiments were issued both sovereigns and regimental colors, each having unique, and each were unique and particular to the unit. Their importance and reverence grew, and they became a symbol of the regiment's effectiveness and prestige. A regiment's colors are the symbols of the history, sacrifice, and esprit de corps. It is the regiment's most honored and hallowed of possessions. The colors being laid up today were presented to the regiment by our Colonel-in-Chief, His Royal Highness the Duke of Kent, in Brampton in 1991. There's no more fitting place than the new Regimental Museum to preserve this symbol of history and heritage. We had our new colors presented to the regiment by Her Honor, the Honorable Elizabeth Dowdeswell, Lieutenant Governor of Ontario in Georgetown on October 14th, 2023. These new colors were presented to the unit upon granting of 5 additional battle honors: Afghanistan, Defense of Canada from 1812 to 1815, Queenston, Detroit, and previously awarded but not on the colors was Festibert. So those have all been added to our new colors. The members of today's color party are Captain Maz, Second Lieutenant Bajwa, Warrant Officer Gwinnett, Sergeant Bean, and Sergeant Kiss.
You're going to use the mic, guys, so everybody can hear.
Mic off. You want it on or off?
The Lorne Scots, Peel, Dufferin, and Halton Regiment hereby entrust the Regimental Museum with the protection and safekeeping of these, our regimental colors, in perpetuity. Preserve their honor, dignity, and heritage, and allow generations to observe this important piece of regimental history.
On behalf of the Lorne Scots Regimental Museum, we accept the responsibility to protect and honor these colors in perpetuity. Our heritage will be presented and displayed at the heart of the Regimental Museum for all to observe, appreciate, and enjoy. Your Sunday duties.
Color party, present arms. Shoulder arms.
Easy. March.
Dear guests, I've been given the honor of reading a letter from our Colonel-in-Chief, His Royal Highness the Duke of Kent, that commemorates this important day. To all ranks, past and present, of the Lorne Scots, His Royal Highness the Duke of Kent, as your Colonel-in-Chief, it is with great pleasure that I send this message to all of you today as the Lorne Scots Regiment gathers to celebrate the official opening of the new Lorne Scots Museum in Brampton. Your new museum will be a place of pride for the regiment and a showcase for the entire community. Through your efforts, you have restored life to the classic and historic Carnegie Library, right in the heart of downtown Brampton. This library, built in 1907 and designated as a Heritage Ontario building in 1982, will once again be a place for people to gather, learn, and be inspired. The museum's permanent gallery will honor the service to Canada and the Lorne Scots and predecessor county militias from 1812 to the present day. The museum's dedicated education center will provide compelling learning opportunities for school groups and a unique forum to learn about the value of service, both to the community and country. The Lorne Scots have a proud history, and it is only fitting that this history be displayed for all to see in such an appropriate place. By telling the stories of those who have served, the new Lorne Scots Museum will provide an inspiration for generations to come. To follow in these honored footsteps, congratulations on this significant achievement. I hope you will enjoy this day and take great pride in all that you've accomplished. Signed, His Royal Highness Duke of Kent and Colonel-in-Chief of the Lorne Scots, Peel, Dufferin, and Halton Regiment. That is the end of the formal part of our ceremony, and what we'd like to do is invite you into the museum to regale in our history.
It's just starting to rain, so they said they do some
Perfect
stuff.
time.
And I'm a little closer, yeah.
Perfect time.
Yeah, there's a lot. So you know more than me.
You signed in? Earlier? Yeah, come and sign in.
May I cut in between? If you guys want to cut in between, you can follow the crowd and get some shots.
Sign the guest book before you come in. And if you want to make a donation, scan the QR.
Sorry about that.
Good, how are you? Welcome.
Yeah, I think here.
We're
waiting for one.
welcome.
Very big time delay in the microphone.
Immediate.
Over in the army, upstairs, red jacket, the whole edition. You don't know that one? No?
I'm not thinking.
This be the one you're talking about. Does it have a bullet hole? It was 14 worn by a person standing beside it. Ah.
See then.
That's the, no.
I might get some footage from you when they were coming in.
This was in the officer's mess for many years. This was worn by George Chisholm from Burlington. He was a veteran of the closest we would have to is overall. This. And you can really do it. 16. The War Museum has the state site on the ground over to
What? Hi. How's it going? Very careful, guys.
Oh, there it is. Still going? You want the speaker? With the ring? Yeah. Is there a special? You know how to do it? Okay. You want to grab this, guys?
Oh, yeah.
was a member of the I don't know his years. Tomorrow. Yeah, tomorrow.
We just got the. Sorry, not very.
Don't worry, no worries.
I should not have
I think that would be. Like you're talking about rifles? All the rifles?
No, no, a handgun.
Oh, I don't know. Really don't
That looks like it up there, number 4.
Pardon me, sir.
Enjoy your day.
Well, brigade. Hey, Darren, how's it going?
Say hi to everyone watching online, sir.
Hey, Robert Walsh, and this is John Coulter. He taught me how to do a tactical bound. He was my guide and instructor and mentor. There you go. You're going to be on getting credit for
The real guy in charge of this is the guy behind the camera.
yeah, sure.
I'm doing a video actually, but you can see the guys walking around with their handheld cameras. Okay, yeah, I'll do that. Did you want to introduce them? Because we're live right now and we can let people know who's all here today. Yeah.
My wife Kathy Brooks and Jackie Wooten, granddaughters of Henry Shepherd, Regimental Sergeant Major Henry Shepherd.
Thank you.
Well, they have like a grant.
Say hi.
So I was trying to see what the hat on.
Thank you.
When the glass comes in.
Hi.
Thank you. There's a washroom downstairs.
Oh, maybe not.
Oh. Hello, sir. Say hi.
How are we doing there?
We've got some viewers online if you want to say hi.
Hi, pleasure to be here. Sure hope you can get over here sometime and take a look at it in person.
Sir, would you like to say hi to everyone online?
Right, there's lots of good stuff here. Come and see it. I feel like I'm following you around.
I also leverage the fact that.
Are you with the unit still, or are you with Meaford, or?
You said use the
Hello.
Hi.
Pardon me?
Let's go. Are we allowed to do that?
And thank you for joining us, ladies and gentlemen. That's the end of the live stream.
Hi.